Adab friends, today I will be presenting before you a review of one of the books on Urdu poetry. This is going to be the first video in the series of videos where I intend to review books mostly on Urdu poetry or somehow related to Urdu language per se. I'll try to be objective in my review as far as possible so that the viewer may decide for himself or herself whether to read the book or not, although I might indulge in a personal suggestion at the end. The book that I'm going to review today is titled The Taste of Words An Introduction to Urdu Poetry, and it is edited and translated by Raza Mir. The author of the book, Raza Mir, is an IIM Calcutta graduate and has a PhD in strategic management from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and is presently employed as a professor at William Patterson University, New Jersey, US. The book is published by Penguin Books and is available in paperback format on Amazon.in at the price of 328 rupees as on 5th of July 2020. Also, the Kindle edition is available at the price of 251 rupees. Now, the book has the foreword written by the famous lyricist Gulzar, and this foreword is very unique in the sense that the lyricist has actually written it in the form of a poem. I would like to recite the first stanza of the poem, but before that, let me read few lines from the introductory paragraph that the lyricist has written before the poem itself. उर्दू ज़बान अपने आप में एक रियासत है, वो जहाँ जाती है अपनी ज़मीन बना लेती है। हिंदुस्तान में पैदा हुई मगर सिर्फ हिंदुस्तान की नहीं, पाकिस्तान की सरकारी ज़बान है लेकिन सिर्फ पाकिस्तान की नहीं। ओस्लो नॉर्वे गई तो वहाँ बस गई, बरतानिया गई तो वहाँ भी अपनी जगह बना ली, कनाडा गई तो एक और बस्ती बस गई, अमेरिका गई तो वहाँ की हो गई, रज़ा मीर ने गोद ले लिया। Now let me recite the first stanza of the poem that Gulzar has written in the foreword. I will also read the English translation of the stanza. This translation is by the author Raza Mir himself, so you will get the idea of the standard of the translation of ghazals that is there in the book, although I will be presenting few of his translations at the end. ये कैसा इश्क है उर्दू ज़बां का, मज़ा घुलता है लफ्ज़ों का ज़बां पर, कि जैसे पान में महंगा ख़िमाम घुलता है, नशा आता है उर्दू बोलने में, गिलोरी की तरह है मुँह लगी सब इस्तलाहें लुत्फ़ देती हैं. What is this love of Urdu? That the taste of words dissolves on the tongue, like expensive tobacco dissolves with a bite of pan. Urdu speech produces a mellow high, like the many flavors of a delectable morsel of betel that frolic in the mouth. After the foreword comes the preface, followed by the introduction, and both are interesting to read. In fact, I like the introduction very much, and I think that the author has, in few pages, covered the journey of Urdu poetry and the language itself in quite an engaging manner. He begins with the oral tradition of rendering poetry from generation to generation and then takes a tour through the 13th century to 16th century period, which he terms as Urdu's prehistory period, when Urdu essentially was known as Rekhti and was blossoming in the works of such giants like Amir Khusro, Deccan King Quli Qutub Shah, and Wali Dakkani. After this period, Raza Mir talks about the Mir era, where poets like Mir Taqi Mir, Mir Sauda, Khwaja Dard, and others were commandeering the tradition of Urdu ghazal. This was the 18th century, and the parallel movements of Nazm tradition and Marsiya tradition, especially in the city of Lucknow, were also prospering under the aegis of such masters like Nazir Akbarabadi, Mir Anis, and Mirza Dabir. This is the era in which Raza Mir argues that Urdu began to achieve legitimacy in the sense that Mughal courts, where still Farsi or the Persian language was used, began to realize the poetic potential of Urdu. Post-Mir era is the Ghalib stage, which Raza Mir describes as an apotheosis of sorts for Urdu Sukhan, or the poetic aesthetic, and the mantle of Urdu Sukhan was then carried by Mirza Ghalib and his contemporaries such as Sheikh Ibrahim Zauq. And then came the 1857 War of Independence, and in the words of the author, the momentum gained by Urdu in the 19th century was, however, to be rudely interrupted, and the renaissance of Urdu suffered a body blow in the late 19th century. Then, in the early 20th century, the author talks about the Nagri Resolution enacted by Anthony MacDonald as a part of British policy of advancing Hindu Muslim divide, and which essentially, in the words of Raza Mir, produced an artificial taxonomic schism between Urdu and Hindi, thereby separating the languages according to religious affiliation. In fact, Razamir states that if one is looking for a definite date when Urdu was born, one should consider the year 1900, in which Anthony MacDonald's infamous Nagri resolution postulated that Hindi and Urdu were separate languages. Now, this is quite an interesting statement made by Razamir as far as the birth of Urdu language is concerned. Then the author talks about the post-World War I era, wherein Urdu, as per the author, seemed destined to be seen as a language of Muslims, and therefore he terms this era as the era of ambivalence. And in this era, the author talks about the advent of Allama Iqbal, whom he calls a genius who straddled the divide between the traditions of the East and the modernist renaissance of the West. In the mid 20th century, Razamir argues that Urdu navigated through two distinct and at times mutually contemptuous movements, namely Tarakki Pasand Tehreek or the progressive movement and Jadidiyat or the modernism. It is during this period when, as per Razamir, Urdu writers and poets became the vanguard of a literary movement that combined socialism, anti colonial sentiment, inter-religious harmony, the foundation of a new nationalism, gender equality, and an ethos of a shared literary and political heritage across all Indian languages and indeed across the globe. And then the author talks about that fateful day of partition in the year 1947 and the consequences that it had on Urdu language. In Razamir's words, while the Urduwalas on the Indian side had to contend with a new regime of suspicion and intolerance, the Pakistani poets, especially the progressives, faced persecution by the elite classes for advocating social change and wealth redistribution. But soon, in Razamir's view, in India emerged a new champion of Urdu, and that is the Hindi film industry, or popularly known as the Bollywood. After briefly describing somewhat a symbiotic relationship between the Hindi film industry and the Urdu poetry, Razamir dismisses the notion of the 21st century as the dying gasps of Urdu poetry advanced by some by asserting that Urdu is here to stay and that the rumors of Urdu's demise have been exaggerated for well over 150 years. Now, I strongly believe that this introduction by the author could well be a template that, if worked upon and expanded, could be brought as a book itself. After the introduction, the author has briefly touched upon the various poetic forms employed in Urdu poetry like ghazal, qata, rubai, nazm, etc. Now, let me talk about the poets and the poetry and its translation presented in the book. The structure of presentation is like this. First, the author gives a brief biographical note on the poets, then the English transliteration of poets' work, and then the English translation. The ghazals are not presented in Urdu script. There are 3 poems on an average per poet and 49 poets to be precise, whom Raza Mir has translated in the book. As far as the list of poets is concerned, Razamir has covered almost all the giants of Urdu poetry, and some names were new to me, like the Deccan poet Suleiman Khatib, and I'm glad that Razamir has included his work in the book. But at the same time, I think few of the important names were missing, but then I guess it is the author's prerogative to decide which poets to include and which to leave. Also, I do not think that the poems that Razamir has selected to translate from the work of a poet best represent the poet, but that is also quite a subjective thing, so it really does not matter as far as the reader bears in mind that what he is reading of a particular poet does not reflect on the range of subjects or style that the poet has worked with. As far as the translation of Urdu poetry is concerned, of course, it is almost impossible to capture into the English translation the nuances of Urdu poetry, which resides not only on the choice of words, but their placement, utterances, etc. But Razamir, I think, has done quite a decent job here. Moreover, what I best liked about the book is that Razamir has given links to the internet sources or YouTube videos, giving more insight into the works of the poets he has covered. In fact, I really enjoyed going through those websites and listening to those renderings, the links of which the author has shared in his book. But I have one or two gripes about the book. First, related to the stanza that appears in Bahadur Shah Zafar's poetry in the book, which is Umre daraz mang kar laaye the 4 din, do arzu mein kat gaye, do intizar mein. Now, this couplet is actually not written by Bahadur Shah Zafar, but by another poet, Simab Akbarabadi. and in Urdu circles, it is consistently misreported to be written by Bahadur Shah Zafar, most probably because this couplet appears in a song in the 1960 movie Lal Qila on Bahadur Shah Zafar and 1857 revolution, and from there perhaps has entered into the consciousness of people. In fact, it is not very uncommon that a couplet or even an entire ghazal of one poet gets attributed to another poet. You can look for a video under Jashne Majroo on YouTube where the poet Majroo Sultanpuri has to state before the public that the sher he is going to recite is his own and not by some other poet as believed popularly. And as far as Bahadur Shah Zafar is concerned, there are other contested ghazals that are attributed to him. You can find a link to one such article in the description below, which explores the misattributed ghazals to Bahadur Shah Zafar. So yeah, considering that Raza Mir's book is published by such a good publisher, I would have expected that the author and probably the publisher would have taken extra care to check that there is no such misattribution occurring in the book. Another submission that I want to make is that I would have expected the author to be a bit more objective in the biographical notes he has written on the poets. For example, while writing about the poet Akbar Allahabadi, he states that Sayyid Akbar Hussain, aka Akbar Allahabadi, was a great satirist who unfortunately sobered down and became serious, mystical, and religious, in other words, boring, in his later days. I would have preferred the author to simply state that Akbar Allahabadi sobered down in his later days and made a transition from being a satirist to mystical and religious, and let the reader decide for himself or herself whether such a transition was unfortunate and a boring one. Anyway, I believe that this book in overall is a great read for anyone who is even remotely interested in Urdu poetry, and you should definitely read it to well get the taste of Urdu poetry. Now, before I recite a poem or two from the book, I will request you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let me know what you think about this review in the comments section. I will recite three pieces here from the book. First, a kata or a quatrain by Sahir Ludhianvi. Now, Sahir is Raza Mir's favorite poet, so it is only befitting that I should recite his work here. वजह बेरंगिए गुलजार कहूँ तो क्या हो, वजह बेरंगिए गुलजार कहूँ तो क्या हो, कौन है कितना गुनहगार कहूँ तो क्या हो, तुमने जो बात सरे बज़्म ना सुनना चाही, तुमने जो बात सरे बज़्म ना सुनना चाही, मैं वही बात सरे दार कहूँ तो क्या हो. Second, I would like to recite a poem by Suleiman Khatib, who hailed from the southern state of Karnataka. And the reason why I am reciting this particular poem is to just assert that Urdu does not sound only the way the purist would like us to believe. In fact, Deccani Urdu is quite distinct. Nonetheless, it is Urdu. Now, this is a humorous poem titled Saas Bahu. Saas. आँच घर में लगा को बैठी है, घर का गंपा गिरा को बैठी है, वो तो पट्टा सदा का दीवाना, पूरा बंदर बना को बैठी है. उजला देखा उछल गया पुट्टा, पीला देखा फिसल गया पुट्टा, मेरे हाथा से क्या करूं अम्मा, साफ पूरा निकल गया पुट्टा. कैसे जाले में इसको पकड़ी है, अदमिया खाने की एक मकड़ी है. बहू, दीवाने गालिब का एक सफ़ा उलटते हुए. ना सुनो गर बुरा कहे कोई, ना कहो गर बुरा कहे कोई, रोक लो गर गलत चले कोई, बख्श दो गर खता करे कोई, जब तवक्को ही उठ गया गालिब, क्यों किसी का गिला करे कोई. सास. कौन गालिब ये तेरा सग्गा है, कि कलेजे को थाम लेती है, इतना दीदा दिलेरी देखो माँ, गैर मर्दों का नाम लेती है. Now, actually, the poem is quite long and I'm curtailing it here, but you can read it in the book. The third poem that I would like to recite is my personal favorite from the book, a qasida in praise of Imam Hussain alayhi salam by the poet Iftikhar Arif, whose style of writing I personally admire. शरफ के शहर में हर बामो दर हुसैन का है, ज़माने भर के घरानों में घर हुसैन का है. कहाँ की जंग कहाँ जाके सर हुई है कि अब तमाम आलम खैरो खबर हुसैन का है. जमीन खा गई क्या क्या बुलंद बाला दरख्त, हरा भरा है जो अब भी शजर हुसैन का है. سوال بیت شمشیر پر جواز بہت، مگر جواب وہی معتبر حسین کا ہے۔ محبتوں کے حوالوں میں ذکر آنے لگا، یہ فضل بھی تو میرے حال پر حسین کا ہے۔ حضور شافع محشر علی کہے کہ یہ شخص گناہ گار بہت ہے مگر حسین کا ہے۔ So with this, I'm winding up my review here. I will be back with the review of another book. Meanwhile, you might like to check the playlist of my own ghazals. Till then, Allah Hafiz.